So we're taking away from this that just Peter King's got a big mouth and blab something that maybe not true about quarterback about next season. Are we or we're not going to see Joe Burrow? I'm lost. I'm confused.
Yeah, there's been a couple of more outlets that's insinuating that Joe Burrow actually is accepting the deal of being on the season 2 of the quarterback documentary Netflix. Chase and I talked about this on his Cut to the Chase podcast for those listeners that are familiar with the show. And a few weeks back, we had made the statement when it first originally came out that, look, I will believe it when Joe Burrow says it himself. He had already said in that initial press conference that he wasn't interested in doing season 2 right off the bat because he got too much other things, but he'll entertain it down the line somewhere within the next few years or so. However, things can change. And when that does happen, I'll be more than happy to come on here and admit that, hey, look, I got it wrong. But for now, I will only believe it once I hear from the sources, the mouth directly, and that's Joe Burrow.
Hey, I'm happy to see him doing national advertisements now.
Same.
That's a big win for us. It's a big win for Bengals fans seeing our guys on these things. It's a big win for us.
Did you see the most recent one with his wearing the 0 jersey for the Guinness for the non-alcoholic one? Oh my gosh. Look, for all Bengals fans, stay off of Twitter because you're going to see other ops try to make memes off of the 0 rings comment. So let me forewarn you, don't let that get under your skin because it is a good thing. I love the national attention that we're getting so far with those commercials.
Bring on the haters, man. Bring on the haters. Tim, you know all about our haters. You watch me on the Steel Curtain Network every week.
Yeah. You know, it's good to see Joe Burrow with Joe Cool. You know, it's going to be great.
Yeah, can't agree more. Can't agree more. Well, let's get into this show. Check out the new intro if you're watching this on YouTube. All right, it's very similar to the old one, right? But it's we removed the players that are no longer with us. We got Justin Lacey, a little fire on his name there. Got him in the front there instead of bringing up the rear, and got a little pumped up Burrow walking off there. So I'm pretty excited about it. Our boy Ma does really good work for a Cowboys fan. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
hey,
that was nice.
Thanks for being with us again. Once again, Wednesday night. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, with your host, Justin Lacey, and a special guest, Tim Lyons. Some of you may know him. If you check out my stuff on the Steel Curtain Network, he's in there in the chat a lot, in the homies chat fam. Also gives the boys a little heck over at the Know It Alls podcast. So we're familiar to hearing his opinions on there. But now we're giving a voice to it. So, Tim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. We just we talk a lot of smack about Bengals and AFC North and NFL football. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. But before we get into the football side of things, Justin, we kind of preluded this on our last one that we thought, something didn't feel quite right about the Joe Mixon court case. Verdict is in. Why don't you address it for us?
Yeah, for those fans that are already familiar by this time, I'm sure you already know that Joe Mixon was found not guilty on all of these allegations from this past offseason. Look, I'll be the first one to tell you he had a tough offseason with these 2 situations that happened. We kind of got into a little bit of the specifics about like the road rage or the aggravated menacing charge that was filed against him. There was nothing to really prove, and it felt like it was just truly unsustainable. However, here's the thing that I'm also going to say. It felt like that while it created this whirlwind of divide for about whether we keep Joe Mixon or whether we cut him or release him, there seemed to be a lot of impetus on Joe Mixon being cut, and it was because of this incident. And they tried to, and it felt like that people were trying to just create and push these narratives that weren't really true about him, just because they didn't want to justify whether if it was his contract, whether if it was character, whatever the case that it may be. And it felt unfair. And later on, he also came out once the verdict of being not guilty came about, that he was not going to speak to several members. I think it was specifically for media members. And I'm actually with him on that, because I felt like while people were covering this situation, it felt like even before this all happened, certain media members were sort of pushing their own agenda with these undertones and these bias, but describing it as, oh, I'm just doing my job, asking the tough questions. But the questions weren't really directly correlated just to that specific situation that happened. It was more so, it just felt more like you probably do not want to see Joe Mixon on this team, and you're utilizing this most recent offseason as leverage for him on that. I'll be the first one to tell you, his production, while his numbers seemed good in 2022, it felt different because it didn't feel like that the offense flowed through him. But that doesn't mean it was a bad thing. That doesn't mean he had a bad season. However, I'm not going to utilize that as a tantalizing argument to where Joe Mixon needs to be gone next season. We need to start moving this offense into a different direction, cut him, get rid of him, get that money off the books, go bring other faces in. I'm glad that the Bengals organization, and I said this last week, that they were patient with him, and then they stuck by him to wait till this whole thing play out. They recognized his value to the team, to the locker room, to the fans that still support him. And there's a plethora and tons of fans that support him because he was the one that brought the energy and the juice when he first got here. Under the last few years of Marvin Lewis, that was Joe Mixon, man. There was no Tyler Boyd being who he was as he is right now. There was no Jamar. There was no T. It was Joe Mixon bringing the energy and the juice during those downtimes. So I just needed to get that off my chest. I'm happy that this is all behind him. We can move forward. Let's have a great season, and let's go.
Yeah, like I said, innocent until proven guilty. Um, I really hope he has a bounce back year, gets those yards per carries up. So I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. For those of you that are watching or on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, get those notifications, hit that bell, share us with some friends. Let's get us out there. We keep growing a little bit each week. We appreciate it. Just going to keep plugging away. You're going to see more and more content coming out from Running Through the Jungle as a channel as a whole. We're going to have previews, post game, all different kinds of stuff. You can find us on Apple Pod. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get. No longer Stitcher. Uh-oh, they went boo-boo. But we're out there. So please subscribe, like us, download. We need your help to keep this momentum going for us. Appreciate it. All right. So we had a preseason game since we last talked. We had the Falcons game. Again, offensive starters, no goes, only defensive starters for a series, which ended up being, I don't know, 15 play drive that we ended up having an interception on. So kind of an interesting bend, don't break kind of thing. But, it was good to see some communication out there. I've talked about it with the safeties, getting some of that help. But big picture stuff, what did you see in that first preseason game? What was the takeaway that you had from it that you liked, didn't like, have a concern? Tim, what did you think?
I was really impressed with, even though the first defensive series was 10 minutes long, but I was also impressed with, that stop that Dax had on BJ Robinson, to save, because he probably would have got it down probably to the 3-yard line, would have set it up for, probably would have set it up for the touchdown. Sure. Dax stepped up, but, not just that, Hubbard played well during that defensive series. And they came and they actually came away with the turnover. So, it was impressive to see that, those guys, they haven't got to play all preseason long, and, they did fairly well, for that 10-minute drive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mike Hilton is just the man. What a get we had there. Really good contract in my opinion. In my humble opinion, not a contract expert by any means, but yeah, I'm glad that piece came over to us from Pittsburgh. Justin, what'd you find out?
First and foremost, yeah, I got to shout out Mike Hilton because he's another defensive leader in the locker room. He sort of just catapulted to that naturally when he signed here in 2021. First and foremost, before I go into the specifics of our team, let me give a shout out to Desmond Ridder, former University of Cincinnati Bearcats quarterback. He orchestrated that offense for the Falcons pretty good. I liked it. And I know there was questions about like if he was going to be able to translate his skills going into the NFL. His skills looks very transferable to me. And I thought like he can be a pretty solid, capable starting quarterback in this league. And that first drive, he sort of showed it. And B. John Robinson, man, that dude is going to be a problem. I was fearful that he was going to break a couple of long ones on that first drive. And I was like, man, good thing our defense sort of just saved the day and kind of tackled quickly because I felt like that one more jump cut, he was off for racing to the house. So I got to give a shout out to the Atlanta Falcons on there. I think they're going to be a
He's
much better
shifty,
team than
but
they were
still,
last year.
yeah, he's shifty and still headed downhill. That's the main part.
Right.
He's not shifty backwards.
Yeah, man, that would have been a nice draft pick. Now I knew he had no shot in hell to even make it a 28 when we was picking in the draft. But as far as our team go, I'm actually going to point out one thing because Tim, you already talked a good deal about the defense, about the bend but don't break defense, which I didn't think that was very characteristic, even though they've had defensive performances like that. But I'm actually going to point out Jonah Williams again because I talked about him last week of being open and then welcoming the challenge of playing right tackle. He was the only starting lineman to start the game at right tackle, and if you paid attention to the first play, they ran a handoff to the right side on Jonah Williams' side, and I thought he held up pretty well with that run game. And I think that the rest of the O-line, I think that they played better. Even the depth pieces, there was still some drop off, there was still some fall off, obviously, but and like we mentioned, our starters didn't really play. So I think that this more or less torpedoed the thought that, hey, we just got to see what our depth looks like at this point. We already know what our starters can be. Let's just see what our depth pieces. And I think Jonah Williams actually solidified himself even more that, hey, I'm the starting right tackle in this game.
Yeah, I tell you, Jonah did look really good. I've got a couple of Captain Obvious takes. I'm going to hit you with first. Captain Obvious. Our backup quarterback situation is not good. So I'm not going to waste a lot of airtime on that. I think we've all seen it. It's just bad decision making. The other thing, Evan McPherson, really good. So those are my two Captain Obvious points right there. We've talked about Yoshivas in the past week. We've talked about Chris Evans, and I still think he's looking good. Chase Brown, he's still my guy, but he hasn't been getting much blocking for him. It seems like every time he's getting it, somebody's in the backfield, and B, not quite ready to be a grown man in that hole blocking somebody on a blitz. But my biggest takeaway, our defensive line depth a little bit better than I thought it was going to be, man. We got some guys that took some steps up. So, that's been really kind of my favorite takeaway from that game. Sample looked good. Osai looked good. We know Hendrickson. We know Hubbard. There's some hole pluggers and some depth, and I don't know. Man, we're gonna have some hard cuts in that defensive line. We're gonna have somebody that's gonna go to the practice squad and go stay there. You know what I mean?
Hey, I tweeted out while the game was happening because it was like getting like midway through the second quarter, and I saw Joseph Ossai still in there, and I was like, "Can y'all please get him out the game? He does have nothing to prove at this point. He already called an interception ricochet off a tip ball from Mike Hilton. He had a couple of pressures, and I believe he had a sack, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that, but." The dude was just all over the field, flashing everywhere. And I just thought that he was just relentless. And I was like, all right, guys, this is it. Let this be his last drive. Get him off the field,
Yeah.
man. He's good. Like, we don't need to see more and more from him.
Well, and we were kind of excited when we picked up Terrell Basham this offseason. And here he is. He's coming off of the practice field, finally getting off of the rehab field. I don't know if he's going to play more than 10 snaps in the third preseason game, and he may be done as a Bengal.
He might not even make the field.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a wild one. So, good takeaways from there. One more preseason game left. We've got the commies, as I like to refer to them as, the Commanders, which may be the Washington football team again next year, which may be who knows, the following year. They're a mess. But they got some things looking up for them. They got some pieces over there. Again, we're not going to play a lot. You're not going to see starters in this game. You're not going to see anybody that could risk getting injured. Hopefully we see Joe Burrow out in the field doing some sprints and throwing the ball again. It always makes you feel better about life. But who do you think is playing for, maybe not necessarily just their spot, but maybe their snaps, their playing time, getting their rear off the bench or getting activated for that? I'm going to kick it right back to you, Justin. What do you think?
So I'm going to look at the cornerback room. And I know we had signed Sidney Jones in the offseason during free agency, but I think that he is in danger of losing his spot. Primarily, he might probably might even make the team. He could be a veteran that's placed on a practice squad that can come up and pinch hit if you need him to, in case of injuries go up like we did last year. But I think that the depth in a cornerback room is pretty strong. I like what I'm seeing from DJ Turner and DJ Ivy. I will be more than willing to let those guys. Oh, Jalen Davis. I'm not going to forget to mention him, even though he's been on the team for a few years now. Mm-hmm. I like what I'm seeing from these young corners that we've drafted. And I think that these guys are showing excellent promise. They've had excellent camps. The preseason games, you see them going through their lumps a little bit, but that's the nature of ups and downs of a football game. So much so to the point that I don't really think that Sidney Jones cuts it on this roster. He hasn't been good, not even in practice, really. So that's my number one guy that I will say he might not make the team.
Yeah. I actually had him as one of my guys. And one of the following questions here was the cap casualty guys. Mm-hmm. He's a $1 million guy. There's a couple guys on there, but I mean, if you can get $500,000 out of those guys, I wonder if that's affecting some of the contract stuff. So that was one of my takeaways from him. I don't know. Tim, what did you see as far as over the last two games that you got somebody that might be playing for their spot or their reps coming up here in game 3?
I was really impressed with Chris Evans blocking. He was actually blocking really well. I was surprised. I was like, he actually can block, and then like another thing for me is like, I'm a big running back guy. I love the run game. We grew up in the run game, that's what we love to watch, Corey
Big Ten country and
that too, we love the run game. I love the run game. And I'm hoping, Chase Brown, maybe shows a little bit extra this next game. I think they were only averaging like 2 yards a carry last game.
Right.
That's not good. And I know, don't get me wrong, I know we got, some linemen that are trying to get spots and all that stuff. Carmen getting called for holding. Maybe the offensive line will step up a little bit, give Chase a little bit of time to be able to make those cuts or those reads, or maybe even give him a chance just to run the ball north and south to get more than 2 yards a carry. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is this Chase Brown just getting better.
Tim, I'm glad you brought Chase Brown up, because I should have mentioned Chase Brown as one of the bright spots too. Everybody's talking about like the P-Ryan replacement, who's going to fill that void, but I got an idea and I want to bring to you. Joe Mixon is obviously going to be the lead back, but what if instead of trying to pigeonhole a one guy into the number 2 spot, we have 2 twos. that you can have them both in the backfield at the same time. I've always wished that the Bengals can have like a split back kind of option to their play sequence on offense, where you got the quarterback, whether if he's in shotgun, and two running backs in the backfield lined up at the same time. I saw it a lot with the New Orleans Saints during those Drew Brees era. He had Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram, Pierre Thomas, stuff like that. What if we were to do the same thing with Chris Evans and Chase Brown, line them both up in the backfield at the same time? They both have some really good thunder and lightning kind of like qualities to their game, and I saw that on week 2 on the game. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm spitballing ideas, but what are you thinking?
that'd be great, because if they can bring back the pro set, the dual running backs in the back,
Yeah.
Or even pro set shotgun, you got these two weapons on your left and right. Is he going to hand the ball off, or is he going to go out for a screen pass?
Right.
And you hit the nail on the head for me right there, Tim. Over the past several years, we have not been good at screen passes.
No.
So with that different set and that different look that you haven't seen much in the pro game over the past 5 years, would that actually help keep that off balance with different types of different? I mean, what happens? Like, who are you bringing up? Are you going to bring a safety up on those guys? Are you going to put linebackers on them? Because you put a linebacker on Chris Evans, he's going to torch them. He scored that winning touchdown against Kansas City. I mean, that's what he's best at. He's a great route running back. So yeah, I mean, that's an interesting call, and who knows if they'll draw something like that up. But
yeah, just like Justin said, I think the Patriots were the last ones to run the dual backs. I haven't seen a dual back in probably 5-10 years. If they could bring that back into football and have these dual threats in there, it would open up the pass game. It'd open up the run game.
One of the more underrated things that Chris Evans did do during last season, people don't remember the Monday night game too well when we played the Browns and we got demolished. But that first drive, Joe Burrow threw a seam ball down the right sideline to Chris Evans. And I couldn't believe it was Chris Evans. That was the first game that we didn't have Jamar Chase. And I thought to myself, this could work out in our favor if Chris Evans had to put it all together, but I think that he has. And I believe that with both of them getting better and nurturing their skills to be better in the pass blocking game, you do not know when you have a dual back option set of who's going to be the blocker, who's going to go out. Because I think Chase Brown can do that stuff too. And he might be lightning quick. But again, our blocking schemes have not really shown that in this preseason. But I do think they give him a little time and he'll work himself in there too.
Yeah, I said it, last week. It seems like guys get real coachable and do those extra little things like stick their nose in there blocking and stuff on contract years. Just odd how that works out. Just real odd. But at this point in time, we're about to midway, so we're going to take a quick break just for a few seconds for those of you on YouTube, and for those of you listen to one of our podcasts. We'll be right back after we pay some bills. All right, welcome back to Running Through the Jungle. Everything you need to know about Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to recap every week. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, a.k.a. B Dirt. You see me over on the Steelers Steel Curtain Network. That's where you'll see that moniker come from, over there talking a little trash. Got to do it sometimes, poking the bear. Justin Lacey, my co-host, and Tim Lyons, special guest, joining us. Our chat fam over there at the Homies podcast. Shout out to everybody over there. Check us out on Friday nights. And we got some new stuff coming out Friday night, just to FYI for those of you that follow us and listen. We're going to be doing the Homies Overtime. The overtime is going to be just round robin about sports in general, a little bit of life, a little bit of this. Really came after the fact that we just normally, after our show talking about AFC North football, we sit around and talk about a whole bunch of other crap. We were like, this is better than the show sometimes. We should actually put this on. So check us out on Friday. We're gonna be doing that and dumping that out there. So good stuff coming up. So one of the things here, we got some cuts, we got some things. I think that Jackson Carman might be a cut casualty here. $2 million to the cap. We can save on there. I agreed with you on the Sidney Jones thing, but Trevor Siemian is making 1.43, something like that. I don't know. Is there anybody out there free agency that's still out there, or that you suspect might be a free agent after those final 53 cuts that you're looking at? Maybe we can pick up. I'm not sure. Justin, you got your sights on anybody?
So we got to do something about the backup quarterback position. We've already talked about it. We didn't spend much airtime on it because we know how god awful it is. And I think you're absolutely right. Trevor Siemian at this point should probably be a cap casualty at this point, if you ask me. I don't think he's better than Jake Browning, although I don't think Jake Browning is that great either. The only thing that is really keeping me to believe that he's going to remain on his roster is because he does have an adequate NFL arm, whereas Jake Browning really doesn't. But as far as like maybe a cap casualty pickup, I'm going to probably be in the pool with other fans and say like, hey, look, Brandon Allen may not make that 49ers team. They already announced, as of today, they've already announced that Brock Purdy is going to be the starter, Sam Darnold is the backup, and Trey Lance is the number 3. Brandon, they're not keeping 4 quarterbacks on that roster. So they're going to probably cut them loose, practice squad them, or whatever the case may be. And you can just bring them back home to Cincinnati. Like, hey, look, man, this ain't worked out the way that we hoped. We thought he was going to be an upgrade at backup quarterback, but he's not. So if you want, you can come on home, bro.
Yeah, I think Trevor Siemian is right now, unless he does something spectacular in game 3, I think he's the third quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put somebody on that third emergency quarterback at $1 million when most of those guys are, $500,000 guys at best. So I don't know. Tim, you got your eyes out there in free agency, or somebody that might be a free agency?
Only thing that I can see is this is, are the Bengals going to cut Ford or Sharping? Those are my 2 guys that I think that the Bengals could cut. I don't know. Free agency cuts, speaking of Greedy Williams, do we need a corner? No, but there's a possibility. You never know. We might need a corner one of these days. So Greedy Williams, he just got let go today, or was it yesterday? That's about the only thing that I'm really looking at.
Yeah,
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean.
No, go ahead, Justin. You're good.
Wait, Greedy Williams actually got cut from the Browns?
Yeah, from the Jets. Or I'm sorry, yes. I'm sorry, yes, from the Browns. My bad.
Wow, I did not know that. That will be a nice little solid pickup and replacing Sidney Jones, former 2nd-round pick out of LSU. He's an LSU guy, so I mean.
Wait a minute, didn't Greedy Williams go to the Eagles?
See, I'm just now surprised at thinking that he was still with the Browns until you said he was cut.
I'm not sure. Tim, you researched that.
Yeah, he
got to look that up.
Yeah, he actually was cut. I'm sorry, he was cut by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, you had the green right in the Northeast. You were close.
Yes, I did. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, you can't have too much depth at corner. It seems like we never finish with the corners we started with. That's kind of how the NFL goes. Somebody goes down almost every year. I'm gonna throw out a weird name here. And going into the season, not expecting what we had from Chris Evans, I probably would have thrown a J.D. McKissick out there as a third down back kind of guy. But I like what I see out of Chris Evans, so I'm going to go away from that. How about this for a backup quarterback name? What's Chase Daniel doing? A professional clipboard holder, man. He has made a killing doing that.
He has made a ton of money being a backup for so many different teams. That would be a good one, actually.
Yeah, if Brandon Allen doesn't work out, I can see Chase Daniel. Like that's a guy that all you need from him, right, is what we saw last year from the Chiefs. If something happens, you got a sprained ankle, you got, has to go in for concussion protocol, whatever it is. Can you get a drive out of somebody that doesn't wet their pants and melt the season away because they throw a pick six or something, right? That's what you need. If you get that 98-yard drive for a touchdown out of it, bonus, But yeah, you just need somebody to hold it in and do status quo. I really think so. The last thing I want to touch on for Bengals stuff before we get into, I told you we're going to give you some fantasy football stuff every week. But before we get into that, I want to ask, is there any cause for concern on the contract front? We got some guys out there that need to get done. T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, starting to get a little close to the end of the preseason here. Tim,
Yeah, people are getting impatient.
Tim, you got any concern, or are you feeling confident?
I'm feeling confident because I believe Joe Burrow's contract or T. Higgins' contract could be done probably within the next week or two. So I'm confident about that. Why are we frantic about, oh, we have to get him signed right now, but I do believe that one of those two contracts will be done within the next week and a half.
All right, Justin, do you share the sentiments there with Tim?
Absolutely, I agree. I'm not. Again, it's just the nature of where we are in today's off-season social media world about people that sign contracts quick and they think that, oh, we gotta have our guy sign as before the price goes up, like like their money matters to us. Look, man, Tim, you're right, man. This contract is going to get done, and they know how incredibly valuable Joe Burrow is into this organization, and T. Higgins too. They know that this team is incredible. They know they have a Super Bowl window roster right now. Or Super Bowl winning caliber like roster right now and foreseeable in the future. And they know that these guys are a part of it. So I don't worry about it. I'm going to do what I can to ignore the noise and like stop getting anxiety over it, because at this point it is exhausting. But no, I'm not worried at all, but I am confident it's going to get done soon too.
I want to agree. I tend to agree, but I will say this: I do understand some of the Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the little nervousness out there. I'm 46. Hopefully, I'll be 47 before we lose a game this season. I've been through some. We're not doing the right things, not getting the right contracts, not being a place where people wanted to go. I've seen a lot of that start changing. I've seen, some of the new blood, that next generation coming in and things getting a lot better as far as the organization. And in a weird way, so I grew up halfway in between Detroit, Cincinnati, and Lima, Ohio. And my fandom split, right? Bengals first, Lions second. I went Tigers first, Reds second. As a Tigers fan, I watched Mr. Ilitch when he got up in age in the 80s and stuff like that, in his 80s. He started really spending some money. He won some championships with the Detroit Red Wings, but he did not win a World Series. And I started seeing pour money into the Detroit Tigers. Now you've got Mike Brown, 88 years old. I think they're trying to work this thing out, figure this thing out. This man, at his luncheon, he said he just wanted one time to touch that trophy and then pass it over to his coach. And man, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it and trying to get it to him. Like, he's 88 years old. How many more shots does he have at it? I don't know. I'm not going to put the guy in the grave, for crying out loud, but we're on a time. We're on a timer. Yeah. So I'm saying, let's get the deals done. Let's go full steam ahead, and let's go. Right. Let's go aggressively
Yeah.
after. This is a goal every year now.
That's it, man. It's it. Give Mike Brown a trophy, man, because I will say this too, just to add on top of what you just said. People are going when that inevitable day comes when Mike Brown does pass on, and I hate to throw that in the air on the airwaves right now, but people will come to miss him. They really will. Because he's still one of the OG pioneers of football. He's not just somebody who was Paul Brown's son. He definitely embodies the game of football so much too. And the city has not really truly embraced his character, his characteristic of what he means to the game. And he deserves to be able to hoist that Vince Lombardi trophy, just like he would like to be able to say, Dad, Paul, this is for you.
Yeah, he definitely loves the game. It would be pretty special to see it. So,
Oh, it would be great to see, because after all these years of being a Bengals fan, and being the Bengals owner, all the ups and downs that we've had, it'd just be great it'd be great to have.
100%.
All right, so here it is, Justin. We were going to do this in order for our draft here for our running back special and the fantasy football side of things. I was giving whoever had the last comment was going to get first overall pick, and Tim sniped you at the end right there, cutting in as I was getting ready to roll over to the next one. He got you. He got you.
I love it. I love that surprise, by the way. Go ahead.
So here's what we're going to do. Everybody listening at home, we're not going to go through and rate 32 running backs. That's not our style if you've been listening to any of this stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to switch it up a little bit different. We've done a little bit different every time we've done a new position group. So we're going to do running backs this time. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a mock fantasy draft running back with just the three of us. Each of us are going to take 3 running backs. So Tim will take 1, Justin will take the second pick, I'll take the third pick, and we'll just keep going around, and you'll see who our top 9 picks are. We'll give you a little rhyme or reason why, what our feeling is down in our plums. What's going on with that? So Tim, tell me who you taking with the first overall draft pick in the 2023 fantasy football running back draft. Who you got?
It's not CMC. I'll tell you that. I know you guys are surprised. You're shocked. It is not CMC. It is actually Bijan Robinson. That kid, I'm going to tell you this right now. That kid is going to be amazing this year. He is fast. He is strong. I'm telling you, with the last, couple preseason games, look what he's done. Yeah, I know it's preseason. You're right. But I'll tell you this right now, Bijan Robinson, he's going to light up your fantasy boards. And he's going to surprise you.
He does look good, man.
He's nice.
I can't. I'm not going to talk trash on that one. All right, Justin, second overall pick. Who you got?
See, I hope Bijan was going to be my second of my 2 picks, but I should have hyped him up when we was going over the Falcons preview. I would just kind of leave that part there. But I am going to go CMC. I think that he is the ultimate dual threat running back, catch out of the backfield, receiving talent, obviously rushing talent. And, he was an emergency quarterback in the NFC Championship game. So there could be a little wrinkle in the playbook that Kyle Shanahan might have him throw the ball. So that's the guy that I'm going to go with my pick. So not too much to elaborate from there. It's obvious. CMC.
All right. So my guy, out of these guys left, we're talking about a bell cow. We're talking about somebody that's a big percentage of their offense. We're talking about a lot of tight games. I don't see him blowing a whole bunch of people out. How could you when you got Danny Dimes at quarterback? I'm going with Saquon Barkley with the number 3 overall pick.
I like it.
Nice pick.
All right. So that brings us to number 4 for your second pick. 4th overall draft choice. Tim, who you taking? Running back.
I am taking the real bell cow, Nick Chubb out of Cleveland. I shouldn't have to explain it. He's probably one of the best power backs in the AFC North. Nick Chubb, he's going to run the ball. Is Deshaun Watson going to be any good? They're going to have to give Nick Chubb the football, because they don't pay him all that money for nothing. And he proves them wrong every single year. Nick Chubb is he is the true bell cow of the AFC North.
It'll be interesting to see now with no Kareem Hunt how that'll change things. If he'll get a little bit more involved in the passing game, just to keep it off balance. Because when Kareem Hunt came in, you didn't know if they're going to run or pass. Normally, when Chubb's in, you're thinking run first, right? So maybe they show a little wrinkle there. That could be interesting. All right, number 5 overall pick and your second running back for the 2023 fantasy football draft. What do you got, Justin Lacey?
See, obviously Derrick Henry is staring at me right there on the board, but I'm not going to go with him this time. I think the value is going to start to slowly decline on that Tennessee Titans offense. So I am going to go with Austin Eckler. I'm going with the other shifty running back that has a lot of versatility to his game, catching passes out of the backfield. He is, I believe, the guy that really does the workload for the Chargers. Justin Herbert relies on him quite a bit. If you've watched that playoff game when they lost against the Jags, the only person that really scored a boatload of their points was Austin Eckler and moved the ball down the field for them. And that was kind of shocking, but not shocking to me because I've seen him do that for the last several years. And I do agree he's underpaid as well, too. So Austin Eckler, that is my guy. I'm going to go with him.
Good pick.
Dang it.
Let's take your guy.
Yeah, man. Sniped. All right. So Tim sniped you, that you sniped me. Okay. All right. So let me see. So Austin's off the board. I'm going to go with 6 running back off the board. I'm going to go ahead and ask for forgiveness from Bengals fans right now. But I think this guy is going to be somewhere between 6 and 8. And I don't draft again until 9. I'm going to take Najee Harris.
I knew it.
And listen, there's a lot of talk. Listen, there's a lot of talk right now in Pittsburgh. For those of you who don't know, I live in Pittsburgh behind enemy territory. There's a lot of talk about him not getting nearly as many carries this year. They've got some other running backs looking good. Well, I think their offensive line is much better, and he ain't running the ball as much during the preseason. And I think that's the reason why I think they're going to get a heavy dose of run. I know they've got some weapons. I like George Pickens. I think Pickett, obviously sophomore year, you think he'd take a step forward. But Tomlin's still defense first. Tomlin's still going to run the ball. I know he's not the offensive coordinator, the offensive coach, but he still has his hands in it, and he still controls that team in my mind. So I got to do it. It's unfortunate.
I like it. I think Najee Harris is going to be a much better back than the first 2 seasons of his career, too. So
I think he gets I think he gets 1,300 to 1,400 yards this year.
Yeah, he can catch out the backfield too. He's pretty good at it.
All right, your third and final running back, number 7 overall, Tim Lyons. Who are you taking on number 7?
I'm torn between Pollard and Josh Jacobs. Because I know Pollard's gonna, he's coming off that ankle. But then Josh Jacobs,
broken ankle,
the broken ankle, and Josh Jacobs, he's got some animosity with the Raiders.
He seems unhappy, but he's a hell of a running back.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Josh Jacobs, because over 1,000 yards rushing last year,
led the league in rushing last year.
Yeah.
League.
And he's gonna come out there just hungry. He's gonna come out there like a bulldog, because he's gonna be like, you know what, I deserve my money, I deserve the bag, and I think he's gonna prove everybody wrong. Hey, give that man the money and let him run the ball.
That's a good pick. That's a really good pick.
It's not a bad pick. Now, we're definitely not showing a lot of promise here with Jonathan Taylor getting a deal done. We got some other guys out there that look like they're going to be sharing some more carries out there. So number 8, your third and final pick. Justin, who you taking for that 8 spot running back?
Give me King Henry. Screw it. I'm just going to do it.
You got him coming back around.
Yeah, I know I'm probably investing in him because of his name. And I know I just said that you may see the value of Derrick Henry start to go down this season because of the catalyst of what the offense of the Tennessee Titans may or may not look like. Might not even be that promising. But King Henry is still King Henry in the name of Duke. He's still a big dude. You still want to give it to him when you're on the goal line from the 2-yard line. He can still punch it in for you. And until it shows up on film, on tape, that he is not going to be the same as what he used to be, then that's when I'll move off of him 100%. I wanted to go on my second pick, but I like Derrick Henry in this spot right here for me.
Fair enough. I don't know anybody can fault you.
No, I think that's a great pick, man. It's a great pick because honestly, are the Titans' pass game going to be any good, or are they going to run Derrick Henry into the ground and just keep feeding him the football?
Oh yeah,
great pick.
That's another point because Will Levis, he's not the QB1 if I'm not mistaken. It's still probably going to be Ryan Tannehill, but they're going to itch to give that QB1 job at some point to Will Levis or even Malik. I forgot the dude's name already.
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis. I'm sorry, Malik Willis. No mean to disrespect you because you have been a forgotten man on this in this offseason. But Derrick Henry has been the more consistent guy in their offense for the last 4 years. So why not draft him again?
Look, let me devil's advocate that one for you. Does some of the losses they've had at offensive line worry you at all? Taking that wear and tear?
It does worry me, which is part of the other argument that I made before about his value maybe slightly decreasing a bit. But something tells me that just keep feeding the rock, even with your offensive line being porous like that, and somehow he's going to make it work regardless.
All right. As of recording this right now, not knowing anything that happens with Jonathan Taylor, I still kind of want to take him. But I'm not going to. And it's more so just to prove a point. And I'm going to tell this right now. And this is going to tilt my hand. I normally don't like doing this because I know Big G's out there watching this, listening. He's going to know who I'm going to want. He's going to use it against me in our fantasy football league. This is probably a bad omen for me to even say over the air, but I'm going to because I have a responsibility to give the people my nuggets of information and thought process when it comes to fantasy football. And darn it, I'm going to be honest with you, and this is what I got to do. It's killing me to do this.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, man. Damian Pierce. Houston Texans. I think he's going to be a top 10 running back this year. The reason why is D'Amico Ryans now in Houston Texans. He's going to protect the ball. He's going to play defense. It's kind of his style of ball, right? Defensive-minded coach. They've got C.J. Stroud. Looks like he's going to win that job. They're going to want to protect the young quarterback. Damian Pierce runs like a bull in a china shop. He kind of reminds me of that run with your hair on fire kind of beast mode kind of thing. I'm not saying he is beast mode, but has some similarities to it. I think he cracks the top 10 this year. Fantasy football. Damian Pierce, even with Devin Singletary getting there, taking some carries, maybe he ain't gonna get those goal line carries. He's not gonna be toting the rock as much as Damian Pierce. So I'm gonna go Damian Pierce.
I love it. He was a fantasy steal last year, man, because people really didn't see him coming because because the Texans were just really bad and hard to watch. But Damian Pierce was fun to watch, and if you had him on your fantasy team, man, you killed it. So that was a great selection. I thought you were actually going to go with the Kenneth Walker or the Breece Hall selection. I was thinking you was going to lean that direction.
The problem is, you got Breece Hall, and now you got Dalvin Cook coming in there taking snaps away from him. You know what I mean? They're going to share workloads. And then you got Charbonnet got drafted by Seattle. They didn't draft him in the second round, not to give him the ball at all. And Walker right now is having an issue with a groin strain. And those can linger. So I think maybe early on they may even give Charbonnet more of those carries. So, you know what I mean? I'm looking for guys that are going to be getting the ball around that 300 plus carries a year. So that's I want them to get over 300 carries a year. So that's where I went with my guys were Saquon, Najee, and Dameon Pierce. I think those guys get bell cow totes. Even though there's some guys that are crawling up there, I think they're good. So recap this the top 9 here. We've got Bijan Robinson 1, and then a little bit of an upset. CMC at 2, Saquon at 3, Nick Chubb at 4, Austin Eckler slips to 5, probably contract related. Najee Harris 6, Josh Jacobs 7, Najee Harris is upset at 6 too. Derrick Henry 8, and Dameon Pierce at 9. I don't think anybody, trust what the Colts are going to do with Jonathan Taylor, so he fell out altogether. All right, so we got you some fancy football information. Hopefully you can get something there to help you go out and dominate. Don't finish last. Don't do any embarrassing whatever the challenge is or anything like that. Get you a belt or get a championship belt.
Yes, sir.
So hey, Tim, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed yourself. It's always a good time on here chatting about the Bengals, about football, and have a little bit of fun. Any parting shots before you step on out of here?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Hubbard wins Defensive Player of the Year.
Bengals Defensive Player of the Year?
No, NFL Defensive Player of the Year.
Ooh. Man.
I
have a bold
feeling.
prediction.
That's right. It might be bold.
This is a bold prediction.
That was bolder than mine when I said that Trey Hendrickson was going to insert himself in that conversation.
Hey, they have said that he's got more bend this year, and he's added some stuff to his game. So, I mean, I love the guy, even though he did play at Ohio State. But that's not here or there. Justin, what do you got? What do you got to take us out on? Any final thoughts?
You see me rocking the headband, you guys. I know I'm in all red stripes because I'm a Reds fan too. I'm from Cincinnati, but I'm headband joing it up because I believe that he is going to have an MVP caliber season and may potentially win the MVP and Super Bowl championship trophy. So I'm excited for the season to come up, you guys. We got one more preseason game coming up against the Washington Commanders, but at the end of the day, we all know what we're looking towards. It's week 1. We about to get ready to go to that place up there by Lake Erie, and then show them that those little Cleveland Brownies that they've always thought that they had our number. That's going to be no more. So we're excited for it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, my party shot's this. I can't remember 3 straight years where I was excited like this to start the season. A little more each year, I think. So kudos to not only having good seasons and good players, but continuing to get people signed, continuing to draft well, continuing to do the right things. Man, I like the way the direction's going. Listen, the NFL, like I said, I say it a lot. Football is going to football sometimes. You got to stay healthy. You got to have a little luck involved with this. But man, I tell you what, going into the season, I think we got about as much chance as any of the other 32. So I'm pretty happy for it. Let's get this one behind us and get in that Labor Day weekend. Football is coming, man. I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for Tim, Justin, and myself, I thank you guys for tuning in every Wednesday. And during season, you're going to see previews. Those are going to switch dates. It's going to be, the day before the game, whether we're playing Thursday, Sunday, Monday. We're all over the place because we are prime time. So those are going to be changing. And then you're going to see right after the game, you're going to see the coaches' cliff notes and post-game reactions. So we're going to add those to us. Chase Younts will be back next week. I'll cut to the chase. I think he's going to put down a short this week, but he'll be back in his normal Tuesday time slot next week in Cincinnati. So the kid is now official resident of Cincinnati and doing his thing down there. So we're looking forward to him getting settled in, getting those things done. But hey, we appreciate you. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, tune in every week, and catch us next week as we are running through the jungle.